Attracting money into your life is one of the main, and at the same time, one of the most difficult tasks for a person, and each of us solves this task with varying degrees of success. You can attract money in different ways. You can do it in completely understandable and real ways for real life, learning how to earn money in the most profitable way, or you can go into mysticism, trying to lure as much money as possible with different shamanic methods. I will tell you honestly that for me all these mystical ways of attracting money are unattractive things. For me, if you are going to attract money into your life, then you should do it in normal, working ways, and not through some kind of witchcraft, shamanism and all sorts of rituals. I have never met people in my life who would get rich, or at least be able to earn money for bread, with the help of something mystical and extraordinary. But still, I will tell you about a trick that allows you to attract money, and is unknown to most people in this article. I usually share such information with few people, because, in my opinion, it is too valuable to shout about it at the top of my lungs. Nevertheless, I myself was once explained the meaning of that feeling that I periodically experienced in my life, before achieving something significant in it, so I must do it too. I must tell you, my readers, about what I know myself. One psychologist helped me understand what exactly was happening to me when I had a strange feeling that this is exactly how I need to act in my life and no other way, and this really turned out to be the right, intuitively calculated decision by me, leading me to a positive result. Therefore, I believe that I must definitely tell you about how you can attract money, and not only money, into your life, acting, let's say, in an unconventional way. My revelation, friends, will be a reward for you for reading this next piece of my junk, that is, for showing desire, patience, understanding, hard work and perseverance, striving to learn something with the help of my articles. It is not just like that I write my articles here. I want to do something good for this world, somehow help people. I want to leave something behind me, to make society better and express myself in this way, to realize my knowledge, experience, abilities. Because I have a lot of knowledge in my head, my life experience is also not poor, and keeping all this in myself, in my opinion, is somehow pointless. Why, we need to share. One of the laws of the universe, what does it tell us? In order to receive something, you must first give something. So I give. And you, I hope, take. But this trick, this information that I want to share with you, which will help you attract money into your life, and not only money, it will be written about closer to the end of the article. Because it has to be that way. You must first understand how successful people attract money into their lives, so to speak, in ordinary, visible and understandable ways, and only then, with the help of my information, you will be able to understand what the success of people who attract money into their lives comes from. That is, you need to approach my most valuable information smoothly, having first learned more understandable and familiar things for our life related to people's money-making. Therefore, do not be lazy, read the entire article from beginning to end. So, let's first turn our attention to what kind of people and for what reasons money, big money, revolves around, so that we can understand, using a real, living example, by means of what money is attracted and to whom it is attracted. I think you will not argue with me if I tell you that all these sorcerers and sorceresses, magicians and shamans, psychics and other mystics, with all their superpowers, do not have the amount of money that people with ordinary abilities have, which you can find, at least in the same Forbes list. Of course, naive and gullible simpletons, believing in something unusual and supernatural, can make a fortune for a single magician, shaman, psychic and God knows who else, who will befuddle their minds with their spells. But in general, people with superpowers, or rather, people who claim to have superpowers, live quite modestly, and the only thing they can attract into their lives is suckers, thanks to whom they have money to live. Therefore, my dear reader, let's agree with you this way. If you are an adequate, sensible person, then you must understand that no conspiracy to attract money or a ritual to attract money, or any rituals to attract money at all, will help you get this money. There is no need to look for money spells in this article, they do not exist. And even if they existed, and if I knew about them, do you really think that I would write about them here? Well, yes, I must share knowledge with people, according to my beliefs, but not spells. They lose all their meaning when everyone knows about them. In general, I just want to tell you not to fall for such nonsense. If all these magicians could attract money to themselves, they would not need you. Be adequate people. We are in the 21st century. No matter how we live, we should know that it is not the sun around the earth, but the earth revolves around the sun, and that Santa Claus does not exist. So there should be no witchcraft, no mysticism, and no spells with conspiracies in the lives of normal people, perhaps just a little bit, for the sake of interest. But basically, you and I do not need all this, we need money. Mysticism, shamanism, masturbation do not contribute to attracting money, personally verified. Therefore, you should attract money in ordinary, earthly ways. But, behind these ordinary methods there may be processes and patterns that are unusual from the point of view of our understanding, and in fact, the information that I want to share with you explains exactly these things that are unusual for most people. You and I must be aware of the regularity of this or that phenomenon if we want to reproduce it for ourselves, at the time we need. But blindly following all sorts of rituals that promise us, mountains of gold, is at the very least stupid. Thus, focusing on those people who have a lot of money, sometimes even a lot, indecently a lot, annoyingly a lot, cynically a lot, and especially who have a lot of opportunities with which you can have at least money, at least almost everything in the world, we will try to understand how they have money and power, and some of them, even our respect. It is clear, yes, that all these billionaires and millionaires do not shamanize, do not dance around the fire with tambourines, do not read spells, and at the same time, they do not work like horses, from morning till night, but they have money, mother of them. So how do they attract them? When I began to encounter rich people in my life, friends, and began to communicate with them when I had such an opportunity, the most important thing that I understood is that they look at life as realistically as possible. Ordinary people have one understanding of life, rich people have another. Rich people understand that either they will exploit the crowd and get rich at its expense, or someone will exploit them as part of this crowd, and get rich in the same way. People have always exploited each other, and whoever did it better was rich, whoever did it worse lived in poverty. The most profitable thing is to make people work for pennies, or even for food, and thus profit from their labor. For example, by raising food prices, you can make people work, mainly for food, then the cheap slave labor, forced to spend their entire salary on groceries, will make you fabulously rich. Rich people understand all this, and the poor, well, they, as always, have their own opinion on this matter, which they consider correct. You must agree, we can draw some parallels with today, when you go to the store, and there are fucking crazy prices, and at the same time we are told that everything is correct, logical, this is how it should be, like a crisis. Someone's greed, friends, deprives us of a piece of bread, and I think we can't act like that, we're not savages, after all, to exploit each other so cynically. In general, all people who succeed in many things in this life, including attracting money to themselves in large quantities, no, maybe not all, because it is impossible, but many laws of this world and operate according to these laws. Rich people understand how life works, what laws operate in the universe, they understand human nature, and this understanding allows them to earn money in large quantities at the expense of these other people. You just need to understand what and how works in this world, then you can make this something work for yourself. The more realist you are, the more chances you will have to achieve something in your life, the more money you will be able to attract into your life. But if you fly in the clouds and believe in all sorts of nonsense, if you leave reality for the world of illusions, then you will not see either money or success in various matters, like Uranus. Adequate or not adequate, that is the question. Be adequate to reality. If you are an adequate person, if you correctly assess life and each specific situation in it, then it will be easier for you to make the most correct decisions in each of these situations and achieve success in various matters. You need money. Learn how to get it correctly, with the help of this site or with the help of some other sources of information. This is your business. The main thing is that you understand that if you do not understand something, do not catch up with something, then this is your problem, preventing you from achieving something, and lies in it. You need to understand, you need to catch up, you need to find an answer to the right question, and then you will have money and everything else. I remember reading a book called The Goal. The Process of Continuous Improvement by Goldratt Eliyahu. In it I really liked the scientific approach of the author to solving problems, both in business and in personal life. I believe that this is exactly how you should approach everything in your life, from a scientific point of view. From a scientific point of view, various phenomena and processes should be considered in order to know, and not think that you know, how something works. I advise you to read this book, it will teach you a lot. Science, my friends, helps to attract money, not mysticism. Someone who knows that you can buy Chinese junk at a wholesale warehouse and then sell it at a thrift store with a markup will never be left without money. But someone who knows nothing else except his own plant, factory, company, does not know how else to earn money, will depend on this hand that feeds him all his life. And he will hold on to his job even if he is treated like cattle there. And what about those who know how to create financial pyramids, within the law, of course, and who know how to attract suckers to them? Does not such a person know how to attract their money along with the suckers? Of course he can, but you probably do not know how. But it's okay, learn, with my help, not to build pyramids, but to organize complex money-making systems that produce socially useful goods for which people are willing to pay money. I have an article on this site about how to create your own business, read it when you have time. As for the well-known advice on how to attract money, there are plenty of them on the internet, but unfortunately, they are of little use. Some people advise to love money in order to attract it, saying that those who do not love money, who consider it evil, will never have enough of it, but if a person loves money, then it will definitely come to him. Such advice, of course, is good in its own way, but still seems too crude. What does it mean to love money? And what does it mean that it will come into your life? Money does not go, fly, or teleport by itself. You need to be able to take it yourself, like everything else. Well, only together with suckers can they come to you. This is when you set up your scams for suckers, and they get stuck in them. They say that suckers come in flocks, that is why some financial pyramids first grow and then collapse. If you hear the rustle of money, it means the sucker has gone to spawn. Well, the topic of suckers is certainly interesting, but we are not talking about them now. But as for the love of money, I have never met people in life who would refuse money or any other benefits, feeling a deep disgust for them. No, of course, sometimes you meet weirdos, with their own cockroaches in their heads, who refuse money for some of their personal convictions. Sometimes you come across all sorts of sly people in life, who know they don't need money, they need a lot of money, or they need something from you, for which they don't want to pay you. So they put on a comedy, trying to confuse you with their indifference to money. Of course, money is not the main thing, I agree, but why burn your calories doing something just like that? There must be some meaning in it or some explanation for it. In the main, the majority of people are very greedy for money, and no matter what they say about money being evil, their behavior, nevertheless, shows that they value and love money, and often do this very evil for its sake. So, I think that it is unnecessary to advise people to love money, although this is a fashionable trick and sounds loud, but it is better to recommend a person to love himself. It will be more useful for him. Because most of us are already slaves to money, so there is no need to advise us to love our master. We should not love him, but should make him our slave. But the fact that you need to treat money correctly and handle it correctly is really important. And some people have a strange love for money. On the one hand they need it and they are drawn to it, and on the other hand, they part with it very quickly and without regret. For me, love should be expressed in a careful attitude towards the one you love and or what you love, and not in an indifferent, careless attitude. Learn to love money correctly in order to handle it correctly. This is perhaps more accurate advice. Some people buy themselves all sorts of talismans and amulets to attract money, instead of studying some book on personal finance management or on how to make a lot of money, which would be much more useful for them. Everything needs to be handled skillfully, especially money. You will not be able to grow tomatoes if you do not know how to do it correctly, no matter what amulet you have and no matter how much you conjure over tomato seeds. And in the same way, you will not be able to attract money into your life if you do not know the laws by which it comes to you and to other people, by which laws it is saved, multiplied, spent. You can read about all this on this site, or in any other sources, if my way of presenting information does not suit you for some reason. The meaning of my advice is to study and preferably as widely and deeply as possible, exactly what worries you so much and what is important to you. Money is not the most important thing in life, but you should have it, or rather and correctly it will be said that you should be able to get it, well, or attract it, if you want. And for this, you must study the life and habits of those representatives of Homo sapiens who turn over big money, and not study superficially, but in depth. That is why I constantly write in my articles about the exploitation of some people by others, about the exploitation of the majority by the minority, and I talk about the methods by which they do it, and which are known to me, because this is how they attract money, a lot of money. And everything else connected with this, all these high positions, businesses, speculations, scams, legitimate and illegitimate power, these are all forms of manifestation of such exploitation. Everyone cannot be the owner, say, of some big business, right? Well, then why are not you and not I the owner of some big corporation, why someone else? You want to know about this, right? Here, on this site, we answer these questions for ourselves. Well, basically I am conducting my monologue here, because it is more convenient. Believe me, we do not need pluralism here, it will do more harm than good. As for some other tips, well-known and widespread, that teach people to attract money, some of them are really very useful, but they need to be understood before using. For example, there is one point that you need to know about. This is the interaction of our consciousness with the subconscious. You see, some people cannot decide on this or that action, because of the forces that restrain them, the nature of which they do not understand. For example, you will not be able to start a business, even a very profitable and simple one, even if you draw up and provide a business plan and all the details that will guarantee you success, only because somewhere in the depths of your subconscious there is an attitude according to which, for one reason or another, you should not do business. Well, maybe you consider all businessmen goats, or you, as one of my close relatives told me, do not believe in business, or you think that you have another purpose in life, say, sweeping yards and scrubbing toilets. Our subconscious is deep, some even say that it has no bottom at all, so there can be a lot of crap lying there that affects our thoughts and actions. Here you really need to be able to work with the subconscious attitudes that interfere with our lives, which is what psychologists do, and perhaps all these mystics I wrote about above. This must be done, but you should seek help from very good specialists who are really able to rid you of all your negative attitudes, complexes, stereotypes, and other junk that is harmful to you. By the way, the strange love of money that I mentioned above, well, the same one in which people part with it very easily, this is also a harmful attitude for a person, living in his subconscious and shoved there by those who want you to part with your money without regret. I think you understand for whom and why this is important, for those who benefit from it. So, if not to attract money, then at least to avoid scaring it away from you, you might, if you feel you need to see a shrink to clear your subconscious. Speaking of business and businessmen, businessmen know how to attract money to themselves, though not always in large quantities, because you understand, businessmen are not the last link in the food chain, they themselves are milked. Good for you, I tell you this as a businessman. But still, the life of some businessmen is not easy. Sometimes all you have time to do is clench your balls into a fist and shake them to hell, so as not to end up as mincemeat. However, some of them know how to earn money in decent quantities very well. But business is different. In one case you can create a useful and profitable business, and in another, it can be just a parasitic office or some miserable semblance of a business, in which there is no money. Our illiterate collective farmers often create such useless sharashki. With their plastic windows, computer and telephone repair, shitty cafes and so on, not to mention market trade, they immediately stand out. Wherever you look, where such bad businessmen have created their businesses, there is rudeness and deception all around. It makes you sick from all this senseless filth. I call businessmen those people who do something useful for society and who are moderately dishonest, and receive money for their truly useful goods and services. For me, a businessman, a real businessman, is a creator who has revealed his creation to the world, and the world has paid him money for it, thanking him in this way for a useful product or useful service. But these guys who call themselves businessmen and oligarchs, and who have not created anything, but have appropriated what has already been created, they are not businessmen, oligarchs yes, but not businessmen, not creators. But they attract money to themselves, of course, quite a lot, you can't argue with that. Parasitism on society is generally a profitable business, and what's interesting is that society needs it. Without these money bags of shit, it would be hard for us to get by, especially for those of us who can't take a step without someone else's instructions. Now, if you want to seriously engage in raising money, then try to engage in business, even if it's a stupid collective farm business to start with, but a business where you need to rely on yourself, not on your boss and the state. Why don't you engage in some kind of business? Why don't you create something useful for society, for which it will gladly pay you? It seems like we can do this for now. It seems like people aren't being driven to collective farms and factories like cattle into a stall. No need for any unusual ideas, no need to rack your brains over inventing something that doesn't exist yet. At least make what exists, and what we all need more accessible to people, more convenient and humane, so that we people can live better, more interestingly, more cheerfully. You will attract a lot of money, a lot, if you attract a lot of people who will gladly give you their money if you offer them something useful. No mysticism, no amulets and tambourines, just good, responsible, conscientious work aimed at satisfying people's needs, and you will have money, believe me. As for some other tips, well-known and widespread, that teach people to attract money, some of them are really very useful, but they need to be understood before using. For example, there is one point that you need to know about. This is the interaction of our consciousness with the subconscious. You see, some people cannot decide on this or that action, because of the forces that restrain them, the nature of which they do not understand. For example, you will not be able to start a business, even a very profitable and simple one, even if you draw up and provide a business plan in all the details that will guarantee you success, only because somewhere in the depths of your subconscious there is an attitude according to which, for one reason or another, you should not do business. Well, maybe you consider all businessmen goats, or you, as one of my close relatives told me, do not believe in business, or you think that you have another purpose in life, say, sweeping yards and scrubbing toilets. Our subconscious is deep, some even say that it has no bottom at all, so there can be a lot of crap lying there that affects our thoughts and actions. Here you really need to be able to work with the subconscious attitudes that interfere with our lives, which is what psychologists do, and perhaps all these mystics I wrote about above. This must be done, but you should seek help from very good specialists who are really able to rid you of all your negative attitudes, complexes, stereotypes, and other junk that is harmful to you. By the way, the strange love of money that I mentioned above, well, the same one in which people part with it very easily, this is also a harmful attitude for a person, living in his subconscious and shoved there by those who want you to part with your money without regret. I think you understand for whom and why this is important, for those who benefit from it. So, if not to attract money, then at least to avoid scaring it away from you, you might, if you feel you need to see a shrink to clear your subconscious. As for some other tips, well-known and widespread, that teach people to attract money, some of them are really very useful, but they need to be understood before using. For example, there is one point that you need to know about. This is the interaction of our consciousness with the subconscious. You see, some people cannot decide on this or that action, because of the forces that restrain them, the nature of which they do not understand. For example, you will not be able to start a business, even a very profitable and simple one, even if you draw up and provide a business plan and all the details that will guarantee you success, only because somewhere in the depths of your subconscious there is an attitude according to which, for one reason or another, you should not do business. Well, maybe you consider all businessmen goats, or you, as one of my close relatives told me, do not believe in business, or you think that you have another purpose in life, say, sweeping yards and scrubbing toilets. Our subconscious is deep, some even say that it has no bottom at all, so there can be a lot of crap lying there that affects our thoughts and actions. Here you really need to be able to work with the subconscious attitudes that interfere with our lives, which is what psychologists do, and perhaps all these mystics I wrote about above. This must be done, but you should seek help from very good specialists who are really able to rid you of all your negative attitudes, complexes, stereotypes, and other junk that is harmful to you. By the way, the strange love of money that I mentioned above, well, the same one in which people part with it very easily, this is also a harmful attitude for a person, living in his subconscious and shoved there by those who want you to part with your money without regret. I think you understand for whom and why this is important, for those who benefit from it. So, if not to attract money, then at least to avoid scaring it away from you, you might, if you feel you need to see a shrink to clear your subconscious. As for some other tips, well-known and widespread, that teach people to attract money, some of them are really very useful, but they need to be understood before using. For example, there is one point that you need to know about. This is the interaction of our consciousness with the subconscious. You see, some people cannot decide on this or that action, because of the forces that restrain them, the nature of which they do not understand. For example, you will not be able to start a business, even a very profitable and simple one, even if you draw up and provide a business plan and all the details that will guarantee you success, only because somewhere in the depths of your subconscious there is an attitude according to which, for one reason or another, you should not do business. Well, maybe you consider all businessmen goats, or you, as one of my close relatives told me, do not believe in business, or you think that you have another purpose in life, say, sweeping yards and scrubbing toilets. Our subconscious is deep, some even say that it has no bottom at all, so there can be a lot of crap lying there that affects our thoughts and actions. Here you really need to be able to work with the subconscious attitudes that interfere with our lives, which is what psychologists do, and perhaps all these mystics I wrote about above. This must be done, But you should seek help from very good specialists who are really able to rid you of all your negative attitudes, complexes, stereotypes, and other junk that is harmful to you.